Once, the world was a quieter place. The rhythm of the heart would synchronize with the whispers of the divine. In those days, deep within the mist-covered northern forests, in a woods where the trees were very dense and the sunlight barely warmed the ground, there lived a poor and lonely old man. He would worship day and night to dhikr, remember Allah, and to be a servant worthy of Him. The only thing he possessed was a small hut he had built with tree logs collected from the forest. This friend of Allah's name was Joseph. Joseph had spent 75 years in this world. His beard had turned white, and his back had become hunched from the hardships of life he had endured. Joseph would wake up with the adhan of the birds in the mornings and start the day with a handful of dried nuts and forest tea. Years ago, in his youth, he had lived in a village. He had lost his wife and children at a young age, and in the depth of that pain, he had severed all his ties with the world and taken refuge in this forest. But along with everything he had lost, he had gained one thing: closeness to Allah. For him, the rustling of the trees was tasbih, the gurgling of the stream was dhikr, and the silence of the night was the deepest munajat, supplication. Despite his poverty, Joseph always thought of others. Sometimes he would go down to the village at the edge of the forest, teach children the names of Allah, and prepare ointments for the sick with healing herbs. People called him Mad Joseph because he gave no value to anything worldly. But those who were wise referred to him as Wali Joseph because there was a nur, divine light, on his face. One year, in the first days of the month of Rajab, Joseph was sitting at the base of his tree reading the Quran as usual. The forest had fallen into an extraordinary silence, as if everything created by Allah was saluting the arrival of this holy month. That day, near noon, Joseph heard a groan from afar. He followed the sound and found a man among the thick bushes. The man was young, perhaps in his 30s, but in a wretched state. His clothes were torn, his face was covered in scars, and his eyes were sunken from hunger. "Father," the man whispered barely, "help me. I lost my way. I haven't eaten anything for days." The only food Joseph had to eat that day was a handful of dried figs, but he did not hesitate. "My son," he said in a soft voice, "you are a guest of Allah. Whatever I have is yours." Joseph took the man to his hut, gave him his own blanket, split the dried figs in half, and they both ate together. Then he prepared a tea with leaves he had gathered from a laurel tree. The man's name was Hassan, and he had a heavy story. He had been unjustly accused, expelled from his village, and his family had rejected him. He had become lost in the forest and fallen into despair. "We are in the month of Rajab, Hassan," Joseph said. "This is the month when Allah's mercy pours down like bountiful rains. Do not lose your hope. Allah said, He is with you, and He is enough for you." Hassan stayed with Joseph for 3 days. Joseph shared his food with him, shared his water, and shared his prayers. On the 3rd day, when Hassan was stronger, he embraced Joseph with tears. "Father Joseph, you did not just give me bread to eat. You gave me life. I will never forget you," he said, and left the hut. After Hassan went away, Joseph returned to his usual life, but his stomach was emptier than ever. For the rest of Rajab, he could eat almost nothing. He only drank water and prayed. When the month of Sha'ban arrived, the cold began. Winter became increasingly harsh. One morning, Joseph was once again in front of his hut, under the sun rays hitting his face, performing the dhikr of La ilaha illallah. Through the trees, a woman was coming toward him, walking with difficulty with her cane. The woman looked even older than the aged Joseph. She had become quite thin, and her lips were cracked from the cold. "O friend of Allah," the woman said, "please help me. I have come from a long way. That village up ahead didn't want me, saying, 'You are homeless. Get out of here. Show me a place to take refuge. The winter is very fierce. If it goes on like this, I will die of cold.'" Joseph's heart was broken. "Mother," he said, "my home is your home." In those days, Joseph had only a single blanket. He gave it to the woman. For food, he had only a pinch of dry herbs and a few potatoes he had pulled from his garden. They shared those too. The woman's name was Fatima. She had lost her husband, children, and grandchildren. The world had turned its back on her. Joseph did not just provide her shelter, he gave her value. Every morning he would chat with her and tell her of Allah's names of mercy. "Mother Fatima," Joseph would say, "we may be lonely in the world, but we are never alone. Allah is always with us." We are in Sha'ban. This is the month of forgiveness and preparation. While preparing for Ramadan, we must also cleanse our souls. Mother Fatima stayed with Joseph for 10 days. On the morning of the 10th day, she was very peaceful. She held Joseph's hand. "My son," she said, "you are a heeder for me. May Allah be pleased with you." 2 days later, Mother Fatima passed away in peace. Joseph buried her with his own hands in a beautiful corner of the forest, under the pines, and prayed with tears at her grave. Toward the end of Sha'ban, Joseph was now thinner and weaker. He was skin and bones because he had nothing. But he was not complaining. "Ya Rab," he would pray, "praise be to you for what you have given me. Whatever you do is beautiful." Then the month of Ramadan came. On the first day, Joseph woke up with nothing in his hand to ask for suhoor, but his heart was full. "My Allah," he said, "I am fasting only for you. Hunger is in my body, but my heart is full of faith." Days passed. One morning, Joseph was both walking in the forest and performing dhikr. However, at that moment, a rustle broke the silence of the forest. When Joseph raised his head, he saw a massive wolf in front of him. The wolf's eyes were bright and large, its fur was silver gray, and its stance was both majestic and respectful. Under normal conditions, Joseph would have been afraid, but at that moment, he felt nothing. He looked at the wolf where he was. The wolf slowly approached him and left something at Joseph's feet, a fresh piece of deer meat. Then it retreated and sat down as if it wanted something from Joseph. Joseph stared in astonishment. "Subhanallah," he whispered, "were you sent to me from Allah?" The wolf bowed its head as if it understood. From that day on, the wolf began to bring food to Joseph occasionally, sometimes meat, sometimes fish, and not just food. At nights, it would stand guard in front of Joseph's hut, protecting him from other wild animals. During the passing days of Ramadan, an indescribable bond formed between Joseph and the wolf. Joseph would talk to the wolf and tell it of Allah's wisdom. The wolf would listen. Its eyes would shine as if it understood. After a few days, the people in the village heard of this miracle. Some came to visit Joseph out of fear, some out of admiration. One of them asked, "How is it that this wolf serves you, Father Joseph?" Joseph smiled. "It is not serving me, my son. It is a mercy sent to me by Allah. I gave food to a hungry person in Rajab. I became a shelter for a lonely woman in Sha'ban. Allah returned my good deeds to me manifold. This is the beauty of divine justice. Do not forget, the Almighty Allah forgets neither an atom's weight of good you do, nor an atom's weight of evil. You make sure to always be among the servants Allah loves, who perform good deeds." In the last 10 days of Ramadan, on that divine night of power, Laylat al-Qadr, Joseph performed the night prayer and went to bed. That night he saw a dream. In his dream there was a path of light, and at the end of that path stood Hassan and Mother Fatima, both surrounded by Nur. "Joseph," said Hassan, "every morsel you gave us became a table for you in heaven." "Joseph," said Mother Fatima, "every mercy you showed us was written down by the angels." And then Joseph woke up. Tears had fallen on his cheeks, but these were tears of happiness. He was receiving the divine message. Eid came. Joseph had now become a legend in the village. The rich would bring him gifts, food, and clothes, but Joseph would accept none of them and turn them back. "Give these to those more needy than me," he would say, but he accepted only one thing, an old Quran. He pressed it to his chest with great peace. Joseph spent the rest of his years in the same small hut in the forest. The wolf remained as his loyal friend, never leaving his side. People called them the saint and the wolf. Every day, Joseph would give lessons of faith to travelers coming from the village, heal those who were sick, and guide those who were lost. The wolf was much more than just Joseph's silent guardian. Once, in the middle of winter, 3 young men had approached Joseph's hut with bad intentions because they had heard rumors that Joseph was hiding a precious treasure. But just a few steps from the hut, the wolf emerged from the darkness. Its eyes shone like stars in the moonlight, and it howled so loudly that the leaves of the trees trembled. The men fled in terror and never approached there again. The next morning, Joseph looked at the wolf and said, "You are my physical guardian, but Allah is the guardian of the soul. Praise be to him." When spring arrived, the forest became even more beautiful, as if by his blessing. Rare flowers and forest fruits began to bloom in front of Joseph's hut. The forest was extremely joyful. Streams that never flowed began to run. Springs never ran dry, and animals lived in peace. Birds chirped above Joseph's head. Deer would come to him without hesitation and would not run away from him. The villagers would say, "The place where Joseph lives has turned into a garden of heaven." One day, a scholar from a neighboring city came to visit him, hearing the stories about Joseph. "O Joseph," said the scholar, "people speak of your karamat, miracles. They say a wolf serves you, and trees bow for you. Is this true?" Joseph smiled with humility. "O my believing brother, the miracle is not in me. It is in Allah's bounty. I am just a servant who will appear before him on the day of judgment with what I have given. In the month of Rajab, I fed a hungry person. In the month of Sha'ban, I sheltered a lonely person. In Ramadan, I kept my fast with sincerity. Allah gave me more than my need. Here's the secret. If you give for his sake, he gives to you manifold." As the scholar left there that day, despite the knowledge he possessed, he realized he did not have the pure faith in Joseph's heart. Years later, when Joseph reached the age of 90, on a winter morning after the morning prayer, he passed away in peace in his hut. Beside him, with its head placed on Joseph's chest, was the wolf. When the villagers arrived, they saw that the wolf was also dead, as if its soul had also migrated following Joseph. They buried Joseph under the pine trees next to Mother Fatima's grave. They placed a simple stone at the head of his grave. On it was written only this: "Here lies Joseph, who wanted nothing but Allah, gave everything he had for the sake of Allah, and received its reward manifold both in this world and the hereafter. The mercy he showed in the months of Rajab, Sha'ban, and Ramadan returned to him as an eternal blessing. The wolf was his protector, faith was his treasure, and Allah was his wali." Even today, in the depths of that forest, when the wind blows, if you listen quietly, You can hear the dicker of an old man and the howls of a wolf. Both are still praising Allah, the most merciful, until the resurrection.